Ferrari's top drivers are sounding the alarm, and the team's rushed response may not be enough. Behind closed doors, upgrades are rolling out, but doubts are already creeping in. What's really going on inside Maranello? Let's break it down. Charles Leclerc first raised concerns about Ferrari's steering feeling heavy as far back as April's Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. It has now come to light. This revelation follows news that Ferrari is working on a minor power steering upgrade after both Leclerc and teammate Lewis Hamilton voiced similar frustrations at the British Grand Prix. Leclerc's earlier remarks have resurfaced just as Hamilton echoed the same concerns, calling for a key update to the SF-25. Earlier this week, Ferrari held a filming day at Mugello, where the team's eagerly awaited rear suspension upgrade made its first appearance. The goal is to address the SF-25's ongoing ride height issues, which could unlock more of the car's true performance and possibly make Ferrari a genuine race-winning threat in the latter half of the 2025 F1 season. The updated suspension is now expected to debut at next weekend's Belgian Grand Prix at Spa, after being initially planned for Silverstone. With Hamilton urging Ferrari to begin prioritizing its 2026 project, codenamed Project 678, this suspension change is likely to be the team's final major upgrade of the current campaign. In addition to the suspension changes, it emerged this week that Ferrari is preparing a small update to the SF-25's power steering system. This decision was made after both drivers reported issues with steering accuracy and front-end stability at Silverstone, particularly in high-speed corners. Hamilton and Leclerc both struggled with steering confidence during the British Grand Prix. And now, earlier footage from the Saudi Arabian GP reveals that Leclerc has been wrestling with the issue for months. After finishing third in Jeddah, his first podium of the 2025 season behind Oscar Piastri's McLaren and Max Verstappen's Red Bull, Leclerc mentioned the heavy steering feel in a chat with Piastri in the cool-down room before the podium ceremony. Here's how the full exchange unfolded. Leclerc: "We need to do something for our steering wheel in those conditions." Piastri: "So slippery." Leclerc: "What?" Piastri: "Your steering wheel." Leclerc: "My steering wheel, mate, is so heavy." Piastri: "Heavy?" Leclerc: "Yeah, we have no assistance." While speaking to media at the British Grand Prix, Lewis Hamilton didn't mince words, calling the SF-25 the most difficult car he's ever had to wrestle with around his home circuit. He made it clear that Ferrari simply can't afford to bring the car's current flaws into next season. At Silverstone, Hamilton stated, "It was the most difficult car I've driven here. It's only my second time driving in the wet in this car, and I can't even express to you how hard it is. It's not a car that likes those conditions, but lots of data to take from this. I might have to sit down with the people that are designing the car for next year, because there's elements of this car that cannot go into the following year." Hamilton pinpoints the real reason behind Ferrari's lack of pace, and he's not sugarcoating it. If you thought Lewis would play nice in his debut season with the Scuderia, think again. The seven-time world champion has already laid bare the root of the problem, and no, it's not the power unit. It's the corners. More precisely, Ferrari's chronic weakness in low-speed turns. Since trading silver for scarlet, Hamilton has yet to appear on a Grand Prix podium in 2025. Sprint races aside, not once has he hoisted a bottle of Ferrari Trento in celebration while wearing the iconic red. And while the SF-25 has flashes of brilliance, it also has a frustrating tendency to push back when it matters most, especially in tight corners. According to Hamilton, the issue is persistent low-speed understeer that makes the car feel more like a tug-of-war opponent than a precision machine. And he's not just struggling, he's overdriving the car just to stay in the fight. Sharing his growing frustration with reporters, Hamilton put it plainly: "We have low-speed understeer, which is inherent with this car. I think we're overdriving to get that extra bit of time, but on actual pure pace, the car is as quick as those ahead." At the start of the season, Hamilton admitted that one thing immediately threw him off: the engine braking. After 12 seasons spent sculpting a Mercedes to fit him like a glove, Adapting to Ferrari's idiosyncrasies hasn't been a walk in the paddock, but signs of progress are beginning to emerge. Hamilton has now outqualified Charles Leclerc in 3 of the last 4 races, narrowly missing out in Austria. And while P4 may not be headline-worthy for a 7-time world champion, back-to-back 4th-place finishes at Spielberg and Silverstone suggest he's beginning to tame the beast that is the SF-25. Ferrari, meanwhile, is working overtime to give him something more cooperative. But suspension tweaks alone won't be a silver bullet, not if the car's front end still ignores steering inputs through tight corners. Hamilton's critique goes beyond just balance issues. He's hinting at a deeper problem. A car that might look fast on paper, but demands far too much from the driver to deliver lap time consistently. We're probably having to do a little bit too far, which is making the car a bit more peaky, he explained. So we need to find a little bit more performance. Ferrari isn't easing off the throttle as the summer break approaches. Instead, the Scuderia is pushing ahead with upgrades set to land at both the Belgian and Hungarian Grand Prix for Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc. In fact, they've already made good use of the 3-week gap between Silverstone and Spa, holding a private filming day at Mugello to give their rear suspension update and early shakedown. Each driver put in 100 kilometers at the Tuscan circuit on Thursday, giving the updated SF-25 its first real-world test. The tweak, aimed at improving rear-end stability and allowing the car to run lower, is set to make its race debut at Spa next weekend. But while there was a quiet sense of optimism in the Ferrari garage, Leclerc wasn't blown away. After his stint behind the wheel, the Monegasque driver reported that the difference wasn't immediately noticeable. Still, Ferrari hopes the redesign will allow the car to sit lower and feel more planted, crucial traits if they're to overcome their lingering handling issues and finally break their winless streak. With Spa hosting a sprint weekend and limited practice time, the gamble has to pay off quickly. We have heard on many occasions that Ferrari have had to compromise the rear ride height in an attempt to reduce plank wear. The damper doesn't really control the height of the rear of the car. What it will do is control the rate of change of the rear of the car, especially if it gets into an aerodynamic porpoising frequency. The damper can change the frequency of that ride height change to get it away from the frequency of the aerodynamic separation and reattachment problems. What we can see is that Ferrari have also increased the anti-lift on the rear suspension top wishbone forward leg. For the effort involved in doing this, I'm not seeing as much of a change as I would have expected. Ferrari is running out of time and excuses. With upgrades rolling out and pressure mounting, Spa could be a turning point or another missed opportunity. Can they fix the flaws before frustration boils over? Subscribe now and don't miss what happens next.